Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review for Star Trek Discovery, Season 1, Episode 10, Despite Yourself. This video is a part of a series of videos where I review episodes of Star Trek Discovery. So I'll have to start with a spoiler warning for Star Trek Discovery up to Season 1, Episode 10. If you haven't seen up to this point, you may not want to watch this video, otherwise some things may be spoiled for you. So, Discovery is finally back. It had this little break. It wasn't too long of a break, just 2 months. And during the break, I was like, yeah, I mean, it'll be cool. Discovery's coming back in January, so I'll watch it. I wasn't like, oh my god, I can't wait till Discovery gets back. Oh, it's going to be so awesome. It's more like, it's coming back. On the other hand, I wasn't like, oh, Discovery's coming back, do I have to watch that? I wasn't like that either. So I wasn't like dreading it, because I like Discovery, and I consider myself one of the bigger defenders of Discovery, especially from all the people who are saying it's not Star Trek. If you watch my videos, you heard me rant about this a lot. It is Star Trek, just get over yourselves. But, that being said, like, I'm not saying it's perfect, and I did have issues with it, and so far I haven't been really wowed by it. There wasn't any episode that I would think that's, like, really great. That is, until tonight's episode. As I was saying, like, I wasn't like, oh my god, I can't wait for Discovery. I was just like, okay, it's on, and fuck, this episode blew me away. It blew me away. This is the episode of Discovery I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for Discovery to be this good. And I gotta be honest, like, I think this puts it ahead of a lot of the other Star Trek series, because most of them would not be this good in its first season. Voyager and like the original series are the only real exceptions to that. So this is it's an achievement. And hopefully this is not just a one-time thing. Hopefully they can keep this up. Hopefully, I mean, a lot of shows, not just Star Trek shows, but a lot of shows have some issues with the first set of episodes in the first season. Even like Game of Thrones. I know a lot of Game of Thrones fans disagree with me, but I think the first 5 episodes of Game of Thrones, I was kind of like, the show's interesting, but you know, I'll see what's so great about it, until we got to the second half of the first season, and I was like, whoa, okay, now I see what's so great about it. Hopefully, you know, and there's a lot of shows like that. So they just have, like, you know, growing pains, learning curve. You know, they have to get their shit together before they can, you know, everything comes together. And hopefully that is the case with Discovery. Hopefully this isn't just a one-time thing. Although we did have Mr. Jonathan Frakes directing this episode. I know everyone who's doing a review on this is mentioning it, but it's worth mentioning because he's not only Commander Riker, but he's a long-time Star Trek director. Directed First Contact, Insurrection, episodes from Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise. So, a pro at directing Star Trek, someone who really understands Star Trek, and I think it's great. Like I've been saying before with Discovery, that I'm glad that they're not getting the original people to run the show, like Brennan Braga. I'm so glad. I really don't think he gets Star Trek, and people were saying, oh, the Orville is more Star Trek than Discovery from Brennan Braga's involved. You don't want to go that way. Brennan Braga was responsible for the last 3 years of Voyager, which sucked, and the first 2 years of Enterprise, which sucked. So I'm so glad he's not involved. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he's a bad writer. He wrote some of my favorite episodes of Next Generation and Voyager, but he obviously is not equipped to be a showrunner for Star Trek. And not just him, like any of the old guys, especially fucking Rick Berman. Thank God he's nowhere near Star Trek. And that's what I was saying after the Enterprise failed, is that if they bring back Star Trek, they need to bring it back with entirely new people behind the scenes. Because these other ones, obviously, they've gotten tired, they don't know what they're doing anymore. And a lot of people say the reason why Star Trek Enterprise failed is because fans had franchise fatigue. I disagree. I think it's because the showrunners had franchise fatigue. And if it was actually, even like immediately after Enterprise canceled, they got a new Star Trek show out the next year. If it was a totally different creative team, I think it still could have been successful despite the so-called franchise fatigue from the fans, because I don't think that was the issue. The issue was the writing. And so that's, as I said, Discovery's not perfect. It's been having a lot of issues, but that is one thing I think it actually inspires me. That it's got different people involved behind the scenes, but you need to have some. It can't be all different people. You need to have some people come in who know and understand Star Trek, like Brian Fuller, who started to show out. He worked on Voyager a lot. Although I've been researching him, I found that he's responsible for writing a lot of bad episodes of Voyager. I just found this out like recently. He wrote one or two good ones, but a lot of he wrote the Spirit Folk and Fairhaven. Do you realize this? So maybe he wasn't the best person, and he understood Star Trek to a degree, so he got the ball rolling. You have to have, some people come in who do know Star Trek, and you get Jonathan Frakes coming in. Obviously, like everyone who's the actors work with them, saying that he was amazing, he was a great director, he enhanced everything, and you can certainly see his style come through with this episode. So hopefully, the reason why this episode was so great wasn't just because of him. Hopefully, the whole process, showrunners behind it, will get their shit together in the first half of the season, which wasn't altogether bad. Don't get me wrong. I like some episodes here and there. There's only one episode where it's kind of this episode sucks, and ironically, that's the episode that a lot of people seem to like. Don't ask me, but so the first half of the season wasn't bad. It wasn't Enterprise bad, but it wasn't. It didn't inspire me. It wasn't like, oh, this is amazing. This episode inspired me. This is amazing. Okay, so enough of just hyping this episode up. Let me get into it proper. So we start out in the mirror universe, and I kind of figured it out from the last, for mid-season finale that they were in the mirror universe. I realized it was actually surprising to hear some people actually didn't realize this. But then I guess they didn't actually mention it in the show itself. And I'm probably taking from stuff I read in interviews and stuff like Jonathan Frakes specifically said in an interview a while ago that he directed a Mirror Universe episode, and the first episode coming back we found out he directed, so put two and two together, first episode is the Mirror Universe, so they're in the Mirror Universe. But more than that, the fact that they were bringing up parallel universes like Stamets and Lorca were talking about it earlier in episode 9, and at the end they were like, oh, we're in a weird place. Where could they possibly be? A parallel universe. What parallel universe would they go to that that would sort of play to fan service? The Mirror Universe. So obviously it's going to be the Mirror Universe. And to be honest, I wasn't that excited about it. I wasn't like, oh, great, the Mirror Universe, because it seemed like obvious fan service, the way to blow fans to be like, oh, Mirror Universe. Kind of like they did, I guess I like most Mirror Universe stuff. I love Mirror Mirror. I love In the Mirror Darkly. Some of the Deep Space Nine Mirror Universe episodes were great, like crossover, but then they kept doing it for too long. It got kind of boring. That last one they did with the Ferengi. But, I don't know. So there was not really, as always, the Mirror Universe stuff has always been good, but still, it seemed kind of like a too obvious way to pander to the fans. Oh, we're even going in the Mirror Universe, haha. So I wasn't that excited about it, but what they actually did with it, it is so good. So good. I was I had a huge smile on my face the whole time I was watching this episode. Some people have been pointing out this is a fun episode. I don't know if I'd say it was fun. I mean, I don't know if that's the word I used to describe it. It was more tense. It was a good, tense episode. It reminded me of episodes where the ship is in an impossible situation and the couple of crew have to go undercover to get out of this impossible situation. I love the stakes here. It's amazing. So they have the weapon or whatever that could stop the Klingon cloak, and they need this for Starfleet to not be destroyed and for Starfleet to win the war against the Klingons, but they're stuck in this Mirror Universe. And the only way to and from this universe that they know of is through the spore drive, but they need Stamets, who is completely fucked. He's just totally out of it and couldn't use the spore drive even if they tried to force him to. He's just not there. So they're completely screwed. So so it's an impossible situation, and Starfleet's going to lose unless they find a way to get back. Now, I love the connection here. This is like, this really like put a smile on my face. An Enterprise reference. They had a reference to In a Mirror Darkly, and I'm not sure if everyone's caught it because I know not everyone's as big of a Star Trek geek as me. If you're watching this video, you might be, but the general audience might have not caught on because Enterprise. I can forgive people for not watching Enterprise, although In the Mirror Darkly, and its fourth season was a good season, and In the Mirror Darkly was a good episode. So basically, they said that they found out there was a ship from their universe that crossed over to the mirror universe previously, the USS Defiant. Now, the USS Defiant was from the original series episode, Tholian Web. And in the Enterprise episode, in Tholian Web, the ship was like in this weird, like, part of space where it's blinking out and it just disappears. So everyone was saying, where'd that ship go? And one of the writers of Enterprise has always been fascinated. Where did the Defiant go? So in the Mirror Darkly, they finally wrote where the Defiant showed up, and it showed up in the Mirror Universe, but in the past, so during Enterprise times. And then In the Mirror Darkly takes place entirely in the Mirror Universe, which is something why it's actually good. So the Mirror Universe versions of the Enterprise crew, seize control of the Defiant, which has, from their perspective, futuristic technology. So they use it to like blow shit up and destroy like this rebel alliance that's mentioned here in this episode. Again, another connection. I like the alliance of all the different aliens, Andorians, Vulcans. It didn't have state Klingons in that episode, but it makes sense that would be in this. And of course, this feeds into the alliance that's seen in the Deep Space Nine version that eventually defeats the Terran Empire, but that's getting ahead of yourself. So basically, in the Enterprise episode, they used the ship to Defiant to destroy the rebel fleet, but that's not good enough. Then they take it to Earth and kill the Emperor and become the Emperor. And it was Archer at first who was going to become the Emperor, but then Hoshi Sato poisoned him, and she became the Empress Sato, and that's how the episode ended, which I thought it was a bit silly, honestly. But hey, that's how it ended. So I wonder if they'll actually make reference to Empress Sato. They've been talking about a mysterious emperor. I wonder if that is Sato, although she probably should be dead by this time. It's almost 100 years in the future, and you don't think people in the Mirror Universe would live that long. But I don't know. That would be interesting if they got the actress back, but I doubt it. So basically, So in this episode, they say, the USS Defiant, the whole point of the journey, the mission they go on, is to find out how the Defiant got into the universe, so how they can use it to get back to their universe. Now, we know, because we've seen that Enterprise episode, how the Defiant got there was through this weird, flashy space thingy, Void Vortex, whatever you call it, that's in Tholian space. So that's interesting. It makes me very curious where they're going to go with it. And the void thingy, I don't know, it hasn't been shown to go in two directions. It was shown to go in the one direction, but I suppose it's possible it could go back in the other direction. But if it did, it leads back to Kirk time, to the third season of the the original series, which is 10 years in Discovery's future. So I'm wondering if they use that to get back to their time. Will they come back 10 years in the future, and that way it would be 10 years too late, and Starfleet would have lost the war with the Klingons, which isn't supposed to happen, and it will change history, and now my head's going to explode for 2 months. So maybe that's not going to happen. Maybe they'll figure out that the way the Defiant got there was a no-go, and they'll have to find some other way. Because who knows if this null space thingy, whatever it is, can even take them back. But what I'm curious is, I don't know, like, do they not have any more? I know that tardigrade's not there anymore, but the tardigrade DNA that Stamets used to inject himself, do they not have any more of that? I mean, I know obviously doing that was a bad idea and it totally fucked Stamets up. But this is a desperate situation, and the whole entire Federation's at risk. I wouldn't put it past Lorca to order someone to do that, or ask for volunteers at the very least, because that guy's an asshole. He could, I can imagine him being like, "This, you're gonna save Starfleet if you do this." But I don't know. Maybe they don't have tardigrade. But anyway, that would seem like a much better plan than trying to find out how the Defiant got there. That's a bit iffy. But regardless, I think this is the first direct Enterprise reference we got. We got shitloads of original series reference because the show just loves to do that. But we haven't really gotten much references from other spin-offs, TNG, DS9. But this I think is the first one we got. And it wasn't just a slight mention, oh, here's the species name or something, or whatever, because we got Archer name dropped early in the first half of the season, but that's not what I'm talking about. This is bigger. This is like a direct thing. So that was great. I absolutely love that. So anyway, and the way the storyline played out, to set things up where they're in this mirror universe, it had the same feeling of episodes like Mirror Mirror and Crossover, which is the first Deep Space Nine mirror episode, which is my favorite of the Deep Space Nine mirror episodes. It had that same feeling where these people are trapped in this awful place, and it's this high stake, high tension, just on the edge of your knees, just blah, 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 kind of feeling to it. And that works so well because they're in this place with barbarians, basically. And I love that they immediately found this out. Like, I love it wasn't like Crossover and Mirror Universe where they're thrown in, they have no idea, and they bumble around like idiots. Oh, where are we? I love that they immediately figured it out. So they, disguise. They try to, disguise themselves, change their uniforms. This is something original. This is something that we have not seen before. We have not seen like a whole ship go to the mirror universe. Mostly it's like transporter or whatever, people being transported over, or wormhole. I mean, there's a runabout, but that doesn't count. That's not a whole ship. That's just runabout. But like the entire Discovery go through the mirror universe, it's amazing. And I think it's kind of convenient that their Lorca and their Burnham were just so happened to be in situations that made it perfect for them to pretend to be them in order to sneak on the Sinzu. Serendipity, but whatever. I mean, that's fine. It's good for the plot, so I'll just go with it. But it was really interesting. I mean, and the whole Tilly being the captain, that's a bit far-fetched. I mean, she's a bit young, isn't she? She's a cadet age. You think, how could she be old enough to be captain? I mean, maybe in the mirror universe, it's like the J.J. Abrams universe where cadets are immediately promoted to captain instantly. I hope that's not true, because then the mirror universe would be written just as badly. But anyway. And another thing I love about this episode is that we can finally put to rest these stupid theories that Discovery is taking place in the mirror universe, or that Lorca is from the mirror universe. This episode definitively proves that wrong, because they're in the mirror universe. They have no idea what it is. Lorca clearly was a totally different person. Now, in the thing, I know some people are probably going to come up with these far-fetched, well, the mirror universe Lorca is missing, so it could be said that he's run over to our universe, and that's what we're... I know it's inevitable, and there's nothing I can do about it, but hopefully this will put to rest most of those god-awful theories, because they're all based on people just saying, oh, they're being assholes, therefore this isn't the real Star Trek universe. Like, we've never seen assholes. Like, every fucking video I did in the first season, I talked about fucking Captain Jellicoe, Garth Levi. There's like 20 assholes you can name who are in all freaking series of Star Trek. So don't tell me, oh, they're assholes, therefore it's a mirror. That's dumb! But anyway, sorry. Don't mean to offend anyone out there, but I'm sorry. That's just how I feel. So hopefully, I mean, obviously it's not going to completely put it to rest, but eventually we'll get beyond that, the whole mirror universe thing. And also, the theory that Discovery's taking place in a different universe, maybe not the mirror universe, but could be a different universe, because they definitively say here that the Defiant is from our universe. And we know that the specific Defiant that was in the specific mirror universe is specifically from the Prime timeline, from the original series, from Enterprise. Therefore, specifically, Discovery is from the same universe. Now, I heard some people saying, well, I'd actually like Discovery better if it wasn't the Prime universe. I could not disagree with that more. In fact, it just pains me to even think about that. I would hate this show. Not hate it. I might still give it a chance, but God, that would piss me off. I'm so glad it takes place in the Prime universe. People just need to get over their nitpicks about canon, because guess what? They exist in every single fucking incarnation of Star Trek that's ever existed. Has had canon inconsistencies. Just, oh my God, you should watch my reviews on Voyager. And I said this before, and someone's like, well, that's Voyager. Voyager sucks. No! Every fucking original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, every fucking Star Trek you could possibly think of has inconsistencies. Even the original series has inconsistencies. And it's fucking something. Get over it. Sorry. Complete tangent there. My apologies. But anyway. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. The mirrored universe. So the whole thing about them having to go over to the Sinzu and sort of pretend to be, that was amazing. That was so intense, and oh my God, it was just such a well acted, such a well executed sequence where there was the captain of the Sinzu was one of the helmsmen that died during the battle of the Binary Stars, which Burnham had extreme guilt. Like, you cannot understate how much guilt she feels over these people dying. And for her to have to confront this guy who looks exactly like him, and it's like, oh, he's back to life, and have to kill him again, have to kill him herself, and they played that beautifully. I mean, the actress, anyone who says this is a bad actress is like totally wrong. She did such an amazing job of, you could see it on their face, how much this was soul crushing to have to see this guy die again and have to be the one that killed him. That was, and you can see at the end of the episode how she, takes comfort in Tyler, that how much this affected her, and just how it was just played out so well. And I think it was pretty obvious that she was going to have to do that. And Lorca even said, don't hesitate to do what you need to. And basically, I think they got it, what he was saying. If you need to kill people, kill them. And it's also cool that Lorca sort of got the mirror universe instantly. It's because he's from... No, don't. Anyway, but no, it's the kind of asshole captain that he is, that in studying the thing, he understands those type of sort of warrior-based, or I don't know, warrior-based, but sort of dictatorship cultures, and he would instantly know you have to sort of act like that. And so that was brilliant. It was also it was so funny when and also added like emotional weight to the scene, like after like Burnham went through this trauma, she goes to the bridge and the guy falls out dead, and they all start cheering. I mean, and maybe this is where some of the camp people are talking about comes in, but that's so mirror universe. That is so mirror universe, and it's so awesome. It was just so amazing. Absolutely loved it. One little thought I had is, shouldn't Saru still, because if most of the people who were on the Sinzu before, but it was never destroyed in this universe. Wouldn't Saru be on one of them? But it's a mirror universe. Saru could be anywhere. I mean, he's an alien, so maybe that they're in Defiance. They're being oppressed by the Empire. I guess that's the easy answer to that question. There we go. I mean, although in the original series we did have Spock serving, so we do know that they do have some aliens who do serve. We saw several Vulcans as well. So we do know they do have alien races that they have suppressed that serve in the Empire, but maybe Saru's not one of them. Maybe they just wiped him out, his species out. Or they're running away from their threat king, or whatever. So that would explain Saru. Okay, answer my own question. Anyway, so the thing with Lorca is so brilliant that he has to be put in the agony booth. Now, I think this is kind of an inconsistent. I think in the original series, the agony booth wasn't like the main stasis to keep prisoners. It's just something they put them in for a couple hours and then took them out and went to their cell. Because I think if someone experiences too much agony, they get used to it and their body starts to adjust to it, and that's why typically cruel torturers will let people rest so the body gets unused to it, so that when they put them back in, it will hurt even more. So I don't know how much I buy that he was in there the whole time, but I love how they went back to him to show that he was in there suffering while Berman's having sex with Tyler and whatever. He's in there being tortured like hell. I think that speaks a lot to his character. Now, again, it's not because Lorca is actually from the mirror universe. No, but the whole thing about, I love how the version of Lorca in the mirror universe was he was a rebel, basically. So he went to kill the Emperor because he didn't believe in what the Empire was doing. So basically, the mirror version of Lorca is a nice guy. And I love that. I think that's a good twist. I think that makes perfect sense to have the different opposites. So the Lorca we know is this asshole who's commanding and blah, blah, blah. And to think that the Lorca in their universe is actually someone who went to rebel against the Empire to save people's lives. I think that is a nice touch. That's something I really liked. But I haven't gotten into another thing that made this episode amazing. We finally get confirmation that Lieutenant Ash Tyler is a Klingon. And it's definitely confirmed. Anyone who says it's not confirmed is wrong. It is clearly confirmed. Now, it's not definitively confirmed that it's Vogue, but come on. It's Vogue. You can tell the way that L'Rell was talking to him. It's so obvious. And plus, we get the last scene with her and Vogue. So many people were pointing out where she told Vogue that he's going to have to do something that, I can't remember exact words, but something that he wouldn't like. He's going to have to give up everything, I think she said. So it's very clearly talking about disguising him as a human. And it's very clear the way she's talking to him now that they had a special connection that went into this together. So so a lot of people were wondering, well, how could this be Tyler? Because he's not acting that way like a Klingon, but they explain it all here, and this is something that I and a lot of people guess is that's kind of a Manchurian candidate situation. I love how Dr. Cobra even mentions the Manchurian test. I love it. So it's even like they have a test to try to sneak out Manchurian candidates, which is great reference. But it was that kind of situation. Apparently, it was deeper than what the Starfleet tests, the initial test, could detect anyway, and that they had over-implanted his a different persona on top of his own persona. And so, L'Rell, when she says the phrase, it was such an awesome reveal, too. I think this is the best reveal to this And I love it how all the pieces fit in place. Now, some people might say, well, this is so obvious. A lot of fans figured it out ages ago. Doesn't make it any less great. Doesn't make it any less brilliant, especially the way it played out when he was just like, I live for Kalis. I mean, God, that was so good. It was so good that it finally played out that way. It's just so satisfying seeing this, and I love the dynamic that it creates too, because now he's on board with Burnham as her protector, and you know that he's a fucking Klingon. And so Discovery's whole mission is to get back to the Starfleet so they can win the Klingon War. So you think maybe his mission will be to stop Discovery from getting back to the right universe. Adds such an element of just uncertainty, of tension. It's beautiful. It is just beautiful. And I think this isn't just a testament to this one episode, because this is something they've been building up all season, and the way it's pulled off here is brilliant. Brilliant payoff. So that means even all those boring episodes are kind of like, it was setting it up to be paid off in this way. So good. Okay, so then let me talk about, we get a major death in this episode. Dr. Colburn is killed, and I kind of, if you watch my discussion I did with my brother at the end of the half season, I predicted Dr. Colburn would die. It just feels like he'd be the kind of character that was kind of disposable, and that it would create this sort of tragedy because he had this nice romance. And maybe this isn't really a Star Trek thing. It's more of a, like other shows like Game of Thrones and Lost and a lot of other shows where you ever see two people in love and they love each other and it's all perfect. One of them's going to die. So in that sense, I thought, oh well, yeah. Look at that, Stamets and Colburn. They're so in love. One of them's going to die, and there we go. And it was so tragic too. Stamets is so out of it, and it was so eerie, like the way they played out with Stamets. It's like, the enemy is right there, and then his eyes go wide again, and oh my god, that was so good. Now, I did have some issues. This is where the few issues I had with this episode come in, because I think it's a bit far-fetched that Dr. Colburn, okay, so he did these extensive tests, and he obviously suspects that there's more to Tyler Ash. In fact, he actually says, I cannot let you go on duty because you may not be who you think you are. So, he thinks that Lieutenant Tyler might be a Klingon spy. I think that's pretty obvious because he saw all the evidence that his body was deconstructed. He was made, his spinal cord was changed to make him shorter, and organs were changed to make him look more human. So he suspects that he's a Klingon spy. So he tells absolutely no one about this and waits to tell Tyler when they're completely alone without anyone else around. No. He is not that stupid. Nobody is that stupid. He would immediately go to Captain Lorca or some other superior and be like, I'm not, 100%, but the evidence here is showing me that this guy could be Klingon. And so they would take him, security would show up to his room, throw him in, follow him to sick bay, point phasers at him, or at least have him on the standby, and like, so maybe even have him in handcuffs, and be like, sorry about this, Lieutenant, but we have to do some tests to prove that you are who you say you are because we suspect something. That's how it would be done. I don't want to hear any excuses. It doesn't matter what that Dr. Colburn hates Captain Lorca or anything like that. It doesn't matter. He would not be that stupid. Even if it wasn't Lorca he went to someone else. Or even if they didn't really have security there, maybe he would just have someone else there just to be safe. Or maybe he would tell someone else. He wouldn't tell nobody and then wait for they were alone. I mean, yeah, that was dumb. But again, like what the dynamic, it was a plot convenience is what it was. It was contrived plot convenience. But what it sets up for is actually really interesting. So I can kind of overlooked that for that, and it was really tragic that they killed them off like that. And again, I love how Discovery is establishing itself as not just another Star Trek show. It's more like a Game of Thrones show where anyone can die at any time. Nobody has plot armor except for maybe Burnham. I think even Lorca could die, even Tilly. I think she could die. This Tyler, oh, he's gonna die. But yeah, and I love that. It brings an extra level of uncertainty. And I love the serialized version of the show. I think it's way better this way. I still can't get over the fact that some fans are out there saying that they hate serialization. They think Star Trek should be episodic. These people are the ones who are holding Star Trek back. Quite frankly, Deep Space Nine was one of the best because of the serialized. And Next Generation have elements of serialization, even though it wasn't entirely, even though it was mostly episodic. It did have elements of consistency, and what held Voyager back from being a great show, it could have been a lot more if they embraced serialization more. The reason why some of those episodes sucked is because they kept balking at consistency and were totally inconsistent with one another and didn't have a sort of serialized continuity. So, the fact that Discovery is having such a great serialized continuity is such a positive thing. I can't even begin to say it. And some people say, oh, it's not really Star Trek because it's not episodic. You're the one who's ruining Star Trek. I'm sorry. I don't want to be rude, but you are. You're ruining Star Trek. It should be episodic. No, it fucking shouldn't. Anyway, I'm sorry. Sorry out there. I don't need to offend anyone who does like. But anyway. Let me give before I offend anyone else, let me give my rating for Despite Yourself out of 10, and it is of course a 10, the best, great episode, totally blown away, first amazing episode we got at Discovery. I hope this isn't a fluke. I hope that this isn't like the way Duet was to season 1 of Deep Space Nine, where it was the only great episode in this somewhat bad season. I hope they keep this up, and I also love the fact that they didn't end the Mirror Universe arc here. I love the fact it wasn't just a one and done. Oh, we're in the Mirror Universe, and I kind of suspected it would be, and it's going to be a prolonged arc, maybe just 2 episodes, maybe 3 or 4. We don't know. I love that uncertainty. I love the way what Discovery is doing. I think this is brilliant. I have so much more faith in the show now. I can't wait. Anyway, that is it for my review of Star Trek Discovery, Despite Yourself. Be sure to check back here every week as I continue to review episodes of Star Trek Discovery. Also be sure to check out my channel for many other Star Trek reviews, as well as I cover many other shows like Game of Thrones, The Expanse, Black Mirror, and more. So be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that. And thanks a lot for watching.